The quiet hum of the scout ship Drifter was broken by a series of loud beeps. Red lights flashed across the control panel. Captain Vex jumped from his seat and rushed to the main console. "What's happening?" he demanded, his four-fingered hand gripping the back of the pilot's chair. First Officer Mel turned, her large eyes blinking with concern. "Navigation system failure, Captain. Critical malfunction in the main drive." Vex cursed under his breath. Their mission was supposed to be simple: map the outer regions of this galaxy and return home. Nothing more. "Can we fix it?" Vex asked, looking around the bridge at his small crew. Engineer Pike, the oldest member of the crew, shook his head. "Not in space, Captain. We need to land somewhere to make repairs." Science Officer Trull was already scanning nearby systems. "There's a planet within range, Captain. Class M, similar to our home world. The database says it's primitive and uninhabited." He pointed to a small blue dot on the screen. "Perfect," Vex said. "We'll land, make repairs, and be gone before anyone notices." He turned to Security Chief Drum. "Prepare for emergency landing protocols." Drum nodded, his muscular frame moving quickly to secure the ship's weapon systems. "Ready, Captain." The Drifter shuddered as it entered the planet's atmosphere. Through the view screen, they watched as blue sky gave way to white clouds. Below them, vast green forests stretched for miles. "Find us a clearing," Vex ordered. "Somewhere hidden." Mel guided the ship lower, her skilled hands fighting against the failing systems. "There," she said, pointing to a break in the trees. "It's not ideal, but it will have to do." The ship landed with a heavy thud, sending birds scattering from nearby trees. The engines powered down with a whine that faded slowly into silence. "Damage report," Vex demanded. Pike checked his readings. "Navigation system completely fried. Main drive unstable. We can fix it, but I'll need at least 12 hours. Vex nodded. "Do it." "Trull, what do we know about this place?" The science officer consulted his datapad. "Planet is called Earth in our records. Last survey was 300 cycles ago. Primitive life forms, early development stage. Nothing to worry about." "Good," Vex said. "We fix the ship and leave. No contact with the locals." Outside the ship, night was falling. The forest grew dark around them, the only light coming from the ship's external lamps and the stars appearing overhead. 10 miles away, Sheriff Tom Miller was driving his patrol car along the quiet county road. 20 years on the job, and nights like this still made him feel at peace. Clear sky, full moon, not a trouble in sight. Then he saw it, a flash of bright light streaking across the sky, followed by what looked like a fireball disappearing into the forest to the north. "What in the world?" he muttered, pulling his car to the side of the road. He grabbed his radio. "Dispatch, this is Miller. I just saw something crash in the woods near Beaver Creek. Might be a small plane. I'm going to check it out." "Copy that, Sheriff. Do you need backup?" the dispatcher asked. Tom thought for a moment. "Not yet. Probably nothing. But I'll call if I need help." He put the car back in drive and turned onto the dirt road that led into the forest. His headlights cut through the darkness between the trees. Whatever had fallen from the sky, he would find it. As he drove deeper into the forest, his radio began to crackle with static. His cell phone lost signal too. Odd, he thought, but not unheard of in these remote areas. What he didn't know, as he drove closer to the clearing where the Drifter had landed, was that his life, and the lives of everyone on Earth, was about to change forever. Because the aliens who had just landed were about to make the biggest mistake of their lives. The ramp of the Drifter lowered with a mechanical hiss. Captain Vex stepped onto Earth soil, taking a deep breath of the cool night air. The forest around them was dark and quiet. "Scans show no immediate threats," Science Officer Trull reported, waving a small device around them. "Air is breathable. No toxins detected." "Good," Vex said. Pike, start the repairs. Drum, secure the area. Mel, help me collect some local samples. We need to make this quick. The crew moved with purpose. Engineer Pike opened the access panels on the ship's hull, while Security Chief Drum patrolled the perimeter with his energy weapon held ready. Vex was annoyed. This stop was an unwelcome delay in their mission. The sooner they left this backwater planet, the better. Not far away, a group of 4 teenagers sat around a small campfire. They were local high school students who had snuck out for a night of adventure in the woods. "Did you guys see that light in the sky earlier?" asked Jack, the tallest boy in the group. "Probably just a meteor," Lisa replied, roasting a marshmallow over the fire. Their friend Ryan stood up suddenly. "Wait, do you hear that? Sounds like machinery." "You're just trying to scare us," said the 4th teen, Mike. "No, seriously," Ryan insisted. "It's coming from over there." He pointed into the darkness beyond their campfire. Curiosity getting the better of them, the teenagers grabbed their flashlights and began walking toward the strange sounds. Sheriff Tom Miller had driven as far as the road would take him. Now on foot, he followed his flashlight beam through the trees. The forest was oddly silent. No crickets, no owls, nothing. Just an eerie quiet that made the hairs on his neck stand up. Then he saw it, a faint glow between the trees ahead. Moving closer, he couldn't believe his eyes. What looked like a metal ship, about the size of a school bus, sat in a small clearing. Strange figures moved around it. Tom's hand moved to his gun. 20 years as sheriff, and he'd never seen anything like this. "Captain," Drum called out, "I'm detecting movement approaching from 2 directions." Vex looked up from the soil sample he was collecting. "What kind of movement?" "Small life forms. Probably local wildlife," Drum replied. Trell consulted his scanner. "Wait, these readings, they show some kind of basic technology. Primitive, but technology nonetheless." Before they could discuss further, flashlight beams cut through the darkness, and 4 young humans stumbled into the clearing. For a moment, everyone froze. The teenagers stood wide-eyed, staring at the aliens. The aliens stared back. "Oh my God," Lisa whispered. They're aliens." Vex turned to Trell. "They can speak. Your record said this planet was primitive." "The data is 300 cycles old," Trell said defensively. "Things change." Drum raised his weapon. "Captain, we should capture one for study. We need to understand what we're dealing with." "Agreed," Vex said. "But be careful. Don't hurt them." Drum moved forward slowly. The teenagers backed away, but Ryan tripped on a root and fell. Drum lunged, grabbing Ryan by the arm. "Let him go," Jack shouted, throwing a rock that bounced harmlessly off Drum's protective suit. That's when Sheriff Tom Miller burst into the clearing, his gun drawn. "Police, freeze," he shouted, his flashlight illuminating the chaotic scene. Drum, not understanding the command but recognizing the weapon, fired his energy weapon. The blast hit a tree near Tom, setting it ablaze instantly. Tom fired back. His bullet hit Engineer Pike, who had run from the ship to see what was happening. Pike fell with a cry of pain. "Pike," Vex shouted. "Retreat. Everyone back to the ship." The aliens scrambled back toward the drifter, dragging the injured Pike with them. Tom fired again, the bullets pinging off the ship's metal hull. The teenagers ran to Tom's side as the ship's ramp closed. Inside the drifter, chaos reigned. Pike was bleeding from his shoulder. The crew was in shock. "Those creatures have projectile weapons," Drum exclaimed. "This planet isn't primitive at all." Vex stared at the external camera feed, watching as more lights appeared in the forest. More humans were coming. "Trell," he said slowly, "I think we've made a terrible mistake." Inside the drifter, Engineer Pike lay on a medical table as Mel treated his wound. The bullet had gone clean through his shoulder, missing any vital organs. Still, the pain was intense. "I've never seen weapons like that," Pike said through gritted teeth. "Simple but effective." Captain Vex paced back and forth, his mind racing. "Trell, explain how your information was so wrong. You said this planet was primitive." Science Officer Trell frantically searched through the ship's database. "Captain, our last survey of this planet was 300 cycles ago. At that time, these creatures, humans, they're called, were just beginning to develop basic technology." "Show me," Vex demanded. Trell projected images from the old survey. Humans in simple clothing, riding animals, using basic tools. Nothing like the humans they had just encountered. "Now compare that to what we just saw," Vex said. Trell nodded and switched to footage from their external cameras. The contrast was shocking. Sheriff Tom Miller was now joined by more humans in uniforms. They had vehicles with flashing lights, advanced communication devices, and various weapons. "They've advanced at an incredible rate," Trell said, his voice filled with scientific curiosity despite the danger. "This level of development should take thousands of cycles, not hundreds." Security Chief Drum, who had been monitoring the growing number of humans outside, turned to Vex. "Captain, we have a serious problem. More of them are arriving. They're setting up barriers around our ship." Vex looked at the external feeds. Drum was right. More vehicles had arrived, bringing more humans in uniform. They were establishing a perimeter, setting up lights that illuminated the clearing, and pointing more weapons at the ship. "Pike," Vex said, turning to the injured engineer. "How long until we can take off?" Pike winced as he sat up. "The navigation system is still damaged. Without it, we'll just get lost in space. I need at least 8 more hours to fix it." "We may not have 8 hours," Drum mourned. "Look." On the screen, they could see large military vehicles arriving. Soldiers in camouflage uniforms poured out, carrying more advanced weapons. "We've violated galactic protocol," First Officer Mel said quietly. "Landing on an inhabited world without permission is a serious offense." "We didn't know it was inhabited," Vex snapped. Then he took a deep breath. "You're right, of course. But that's the least of our problems right now." Trell, who had been analyzing Earth broadcasts since they landed, looked up from his console with an expression of horror. "Captain, I've been monitoring their communication signals. These humans are not just technologically advanced. They're warlike." He displayed images from Earth's history, world wars, nuclear weapons, military parades. In just the last 100 cycles, they fought global conflicts that killed millions of their own kind, Trell explained. They've developed atomic weapons, space travel, and global communication networks. And they're deeply suspicious of outsiders. The crew fell silent as they absorbed this information. "So we've accidentally landed on a planet full of advanced, aggressive beings who now think we're invading them," Vex summarized. "Perfect." Outside, a human with a megaphone was speaking. The ship's computers translated. "Attention, unknown craft. You are surrounded. Exit your vehicle with your hands up. We will not harm you if you cooperate." "They're lying," Drum said. "Look at those weapons. They're preparing to attack." Vex watched as more military equipment arrived. Helicopters circled overhead. He could see humans setting up what looked like heavy artillery. "We need a plan," he said. "Drum, secure all entry points. Trell, learn everything you can about these humans. Mel, help Pike with the repairs. We need to get off this planet as soon as possible." As the crew rushed to their tasks, Vex stared at the screens showing the growing human forces outside. What had started as a simple emergency landing had become a diplomatic nightmare. And the humans were just getting started. Colonel James Ward arrived at the scene as dawn broke over the forest. He stepped out of his military jeep and surveyed the situation. In his 20 years of service, he had never expected to face an alien invasion. "Status report," he demanded from the nearest officer. "Sir, the craft has been completely silent since our initial contact. We have the area secured with a half-mile perimeter. News crews are being kept back at the main road. Colonel Ward nodded. And the civilians who made first contact? The sheriff and the teenagers are in the command tent, sir. They've been debriefed. Ward walked to the command center, a large tent filled with monitors, communication equipment, and busy personnel. Sheriff Tom Miller sat at a table with the 4 teenagers, all looking exhausted. Sheriff Miller, Ward said, extending his hand. I'm Colonel Ward. I need to know exactly what happened here. Tom stood up. Colonel, these beings, they're not from Earth. They tried to grab one of the kids. I fired a warning shot, and they returned fire with some kind of energy weapon. Then they retreated to their ship. Ward turned to the teenagers. And what did you see? Jack spoke up. They were about our height, but skinnier. 4 fingers on each hand. Big eyes. They seemed surprised to see us, like they didn't expect to find people here. Ward absorbed this information. Thank you all for your cooperation. You'll be escorted home soon, after signing some confidentiality agreements. Outside, Ward ordered his team to set up additional equipment. Radar systems, signal jammers, thermal imaging cameras, and drone surveillance. Inside the Drifter Captain Vex watched the humans' activity with growing concern. They're bringing in more technology, he said. Trell, what are those devices they're setting up? Trell analyzed the images, scanning equipment, communication technology, and what appear to be weapon systems. Captain, they're far more advanced than we anticipated. Some of this technology is comparable to what we have. Engineer Pike called from the engine room. Captain, I'm making progress on the repairs, but there's a problem. The navigation system needs a specific component that was damaged. I've tried to fabricate a replacement, but the materials we have on board aren't sufficient. Vex clenched his fist. How long can we fly without it? We could take off, but we'd be flying blind. We couldn't plot a course home or enter hyperspace safely. Drom, who had been monitoring the humans' communications, interrupted. Captain, I'm picking up their transmissions. They're discussing ways to enter our ship by force. They're calling in more military units with specialized equipment. Can we defend ourselves? Vex asked. Our ship has basic defensive capabilities, but nothing designed for sustained combat. We're a science vessel, not a warship, Drom replied. First Officer Mel, who had been unusually quiet, finally spoke. Captain, perhaps we should try to communicate with them. Explain that we mean no harm. And tell them what? That we landed here by mistake. That we violated their sovereignty because we thought they were primitive. Vex shook his head. These humans are heavily armed and clearly see us as a threat. I don't think they're in a listening mood. Just then, a loud mechanical noise came from outside. On the screens, they saw the humans positioning what looked like a large cannon, pointing it directly at the ship. What is that? Vex asked, alarmed. Trell analyzed it quickly. It appears to be some kind of ballistic weapon. Based on their technology level, it could potentially breach our hull. The tension in the ship was thick. Pike worked frantically on the repairs. Drom checked the ship's limited defensive shields. Mel and Trell monitored the humans' activities. Vex stood watching the screens, feeling trapped. Outside, Earth's military forces continued to gather, bringing more equipment, more weapons, more soldiers. They're preparing for war, Drom said. No, Vex replied quietly. They're preparing for an alien invasion. And from their perspective, that's exactly what we are. As if to confirm his words, a powerful spotlight suddenly illuminated the ship, and a new message came through their translators. Attention, alien craft. This is Colonel James Ward of the United States Army. You have 1 hour to surrender and exit your vessel, or we will take action. This is your final warning. Dr. Anna Grant pushed her way through the crowd of military personnel. Her credentials as the leading physicist from the nearby research center got her past most checkpoints, but Colonel Ward's final security line proved more difficult. I need to speak with Colonel Ward immediately, she insisted to the guard. The colonel is busy preparing for the operation, Mom. Tell him Dr. Grant has information about the alien technology that he needs to hear, she said firmly. Minutes later, she stood in the command tent facing Colonel Ward. Dr. Grant, this is a military operation. I appreciate your expertise, but... Colonel, she interrupted, I've analyzed the readings from your equipment. That ship uses technology that could teach us so much. Destroying it would be a terrible mistake. Ward frowned. My job is to protect this country from threats. But we don't know they're a threat, Anna argued. Have you tried communicating with them? They fired on Sheriff Miller. After he pulled a gun, Anna countered. Let me try talking to them. Peacefully. Sheriff Tom Miller, who had been listening nearby, stepped forward. She has a point, Colonel. We don't know their intentions. Ward considered this. Fine. You have 30 minutes before we proceed with our plan, but you'll wear a wire and be under sniper protection at all times. Inside the Drifter asterisk, the mood was grim. The ultimatum's deadline was approaching, and Engineer Pike still couldn't fix the navigation system without the missing component. Captain, Trull called out suddenly. A single human is approaching the ship, unarmed. On the screen, they saw a woman in civilian clothes walking slowly toward them, her hands raised to show she carried no weapons. This could be a trick, Drom warned. Or an opportunity, Mel countered. Captain, we should hear what she has to say. Vex nodded. Activate the external speakers. Let's listen. Anna stopped 20 feet from the ship. Her heart raced, but she kept her voice steady. Hello. My name is Dr. Anna Grant. I'm a scientist, not a soldier. I want to help you. We don't need to be enemies. For a long moment, there was silence. Then a voice responded, slightly mechanical through the translation system. I am Captain Vex of the scout ship Drifter asterisk. We did not come to your planet as invaders. Our navigation system failed. We needed to make an emergency landing. Anna smiled with relief. I understand. Accidents happen, even with advanced technology. Your military is preparing to attack us, Vex said. They're afraid because they don't understand you, Anna explained. Let me help bridge that gap. What do you need to repair your ship? There was a pause, then. Our navigation system requires a specific component. Without it, we cannot safely return home. Anna thought quickly. I work at a research center nearby. If you can show me what you need, perhaps I can help find it. Inside the ship, the crew was divided. We can't trust them, Drom insisted. We have no choice, Pike argued from his makeshift medical bed. Without that component, we're stranded. Vex made his decision. Trell, send the specifications of the component to their communication device. Moments later, Anna's phone beeped. She studied the technical diagram that appeared. This looks similar to a quantum stabilizer we've been developing, she said. I believe I can adapt one to work for you. Why would you help us? Vex asked. Because that's what scientists do, Anna replied. We seek understanding, not conflict. Colonel Ward watched the exchange through binoculars, his patience wearing thin. What's she doing? He demanded. Talking, sir, the communications officer replied. They say they just need repairs and want to leave peacefully. And you believe that? Ward scoffed. Prepare the EMP cannon. As soon as Dr. Grant is clear, we disable their ship. Sheriff Miller overheard this and frowned. He quietly slipped away from the command center, making a decision that could cost him his badge or save lives. Back at the ship, Anna made a promise. I'll return with what you need, but you must convince Colonel Ward you're not a threat. As she walked back to the military line, Anna didn't know two important things: that Colonel Ward was already planning to betray the aliens' trust, and that Sheriff Miller was about to become an unexpected ally in a dangerous game of interstellar diplomacy. Dr. Anna Grant worked quickly in her lab. The quantum stabilizer needed several modifications to match the alien specifications. Her hands moved with expert precision, adjusting microscopic components, while her assistant watched in amazement. "Dr. Grant, are you sure about this?" her assistant asked. Helping aliens against military orders could be seen as treason. Anna didn't look up from her work. Sometimes doing the right thing means breaking the rules. These beings aren't our enemies. They're lost travelers who need our help. Across town, Sheriff Tom Miller sat in his patrol car, making the hardest call of his career. He dialed the number for Lisa's father, who worked as a reporter for the local news. "Dave, it's Tom. I need you to break a story. Fast. The military is planning to attack those aliens even though they're peaceful. We need public pressure to stop this." Back at the landing site, Colonel Ward checked his watch. "Dr. Grant has been gone too long. Prepare the EMP cannon. We move in 15 minutes. "Sir," a young lieutenant objected, "shouldn't we wait for Dr. Grant's return? The aliens seem willing to communicate." Ward turned to him coldly. "Lieutenant, these are unknown entities with technology that could destroy our cities. We can't risk them fixing their ship and calling for reinforcements." Inside the Drifter Engineer Pike was losing strength. His wound was healing, but slowly. Captain Vex stood by the viewport, watching the humans prepare what he now knew was an electromagnetic pulse weapon. "They're going to disable our ship," he told his crew. "If that happens, we'll be completely defenseless." "We should leave now," Drom insisted. "Even with damaged navigation, we might make it to the nearest outpost." Trell shook his head. "Without the navigation system, we'd likely drift into a star or get lost in deep space. Our chances of survival would be minimal." First Officer Mel, who had been studying the humans closely through their scanners, spoke up. "Captain, I've been observing these humans. They're not all the same. Some want to attack us, yes, but others, like this Dr. Grant, want to help. They're complex beings." Vex considered this. "You think we can trust some of them?" "I think," Mel said carefully, "that judging an entire species by the actions of a few would be a mistake. Isn't that what we teach at the academy?" Sheriff Miller arrived back at the military perimeter to find chaos. News vans were pulling up, reporters demanding statements. His call to Lisa's father had worked faster than expected. Colonel Ward stormed over to him. "What did you do, Miller?" "My job," Tom replied calmly. "Protecting everyone in my jurisdiction, even if they're not from Earth." Ward's radio crackled. "Sir, we have protesters gathering at the roadblock, and the governor is on the line, demanding an update." Ward's face darkened with anger. "This changes nothing. We proceed as planned." That's when they heard the sound of a car speeding toward them. Dr. Anna Grant's vehicle skidded to a stop, and she jumped out, holding the small box. "Stop everything," she shouted, running toward the command tent. "I have what they need. Let me give it to them, and they'll leave peacefully." Ward moved to block her path. "Dr. Grant, you're interfering with a military operation, and you're about to start an interstellar war." Anna shot back. Tom stepped between them. "Colonel, the whole world is watching now. Think carefully about your next move." Ward looked around at the gathering crowd of reporters and protesters. The political fallout from attacking peaceful aliens on live television would end his career. "You have 1 hour," he said finally. "If that ship isn't gone in 1 hour, we proceed as planned." Anna nodded and walked toward the alien craft, carrying the modified component. As she approached, the ship's ramp lowered once again. Captain Vex stepped out, now understanding enough about humans to know that what he was witnessing, this conflict between fear and compassion, between aggression and cooperation, was perhaps the most remarkable thing about Earth. "You came back," he said as Anna reached him. She handed him the box. "We keep our promises. At least, some of us do." Behind her, Sheriff Tom Miller stood guard, his presence a silent statement that not all humans feared what they didn't understand. And in that moment, the aliens learned the most important lesson about Earth. Humans were dangerous not just because of their weapons, but because of their incredible capacity for both destruction and kindness. Engineer Pike installed the modified component with Dr. Anna Grant watching closely. Despite their different origins, the two scientists found a common language in technology. Pike's four-fingered hands moved with precision as he connected the final wires. "Your understanding of quantum mechanics is impressive for your species' development stage," Pike said. Anna smiled. "We're quick learners." Outside the ship, the tension remained high. Colonel Ward paced impatiently, checking his watch every few minutes. News helicopters circled overhead, broadcasting the scene worldwide. The hour he had granted was nearly up. "Power up the EMP cannon," Ward ordered quietly. "Be ready on my command." Sheriff Tom Miller overheard this and moved closer to the ship. He had risked everything to help these visitors, and he wasn't about to let the military attack them now. Inside the Drifter Captain Vex received the news he had been waiting for. "Navigation system restored, Captain," Pike announced. "We can plot a course home." "Finally," Vex said with relief. He turned to Dr. Anna. "We owe you our gratitude." Anna looked around the alien ship, knowing this might be humanity's only chance to learn from these advanced beings. "Before you go, would you consider sharing some of your knowledge with us? Medical advancements, clean energy, things that could help our world." Vex hesitated. First Officer Mel stepped forward. "Captain, maybe we should. They did save us." Trell shook his head. "The Galactic Protocol forbids sharing advanced technology with developing worlds. It could disrupt their natural evolution." "But we've already interfered by landing here," Mel argued. Vex made his decision. "Dr. Grant, we cannot give you our technology." But he handed her a small data device. "This contains basic scientific principles that your people will discover within the next century anyway. It might help you find the right path sooner." Anna took the device gratefully. "Thank you. You should leave now," Vex said. "We need to depart immediately." Anna nodded and headed for the exit ramp. She paused before leaving. "Will you ever come back?" "That decision will not be mine to make," Vex replied. Outside, Colonel Ward saw Dr. Grant exiting the ship. "Time's up," he said into his radio. "Prepare to fire on my—" A loud humming sound cut him off. The alien ship began to glow, the ground beneath it trembling slightly. "Fire now," Ward shouted. But before the order could be carried out, Sheriff Miller tackled the soldier operating the EMP cannon. In the confusion, other soldiers hesitated, unsure of what to do. The ship's engines glowed brighter. Slowly, it began to rise from the ground, hovering 20 feet in the air. The crowd of onlookers gasped in amazement. Dr. Anna Grant stood beside Sheriff Miller, watching as the Drifter ascended higher and higher. In seconds, it was just a bright dot in the sky. Then, with a flash of light, it was gone. 3 weeks later, in a classified meeting room deep within a government building, Colonel Ward faced a panel of stern-faced officials. "So the aliens escaped," one of them said. "Yes, sir," Ward admitted, "but we've established new protocols. Early warning systems are being deployed worldwide. Next time, we'll be ready." Light years away, Captain Vex stood before the Galactic Council, concluding his report. In summary, the planet Earth is inhabited by a species far more advanced and unpredictable than our records indicated. They are technologically capable, highly adaptive, and both exceptionally dangerous and surprisingly compassionate. The head counselor leaned forward. "Your recommendation, Captain. Classify Earth as a protected world, forbidden for contact or colonization. The humans are not ready for galactic integration, and frankly," Vex paused, "we may not be ready for them." As Vex left the chamber, First Officer Mel caught up with him. "Do you think we'll ever return to Earth?" Vex thought about Anna Grant and Sheriff Miller, about their courage and kindness. He also remembered Colonel Ward and his weapons. "I hope not," he said finally. "At least not for a very long time." Throughout the galaxy, the story spread. The tale of the small blue planet where aliens landed by mistake and instantly regretted it. A planet of beings so unpredictable and formidable that even advanced civilizations chose to keep their distance. Earth's accidental first contact had given it the greatest protection of all, a fearsome reputation.